obviously we've spoken to you since the Scottish Cup semi-final draw, but just have your reaction to kind of
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Obviously, it guarantees 3 games, Rangers Celtic, between now and the end of the season, the last 11 or 12 games, which is, I think, good for us as a squad moving forward.
Does it give you that opportunity for revenge for that League Cup final, or how do you view that game and the other two as well?
No, listen, I'm one of the more fortunate people in that game, really, because I think that was my first defeat in quite a few. So, listen, it wasn't a nice one, but there's 3 to go between now and the end of the season. We certainly want to show a better face in them games, and we need to. But before then, there's a lot of football to be played. You know, there's 2 more league games, an international break, and then after the first league game on the 8th of April, that's quite a long time until the end of the month. So we just keep improving every day.
There are 9 points between the sides in the league. Of course, you could still make up that gap, but with the games running out, it looks tougher and tougher. Do you feel that, with regards to semi-final, that could be, you know, the pivotal game of the season, your season hanging on that game?
Well, it's a big game, isn't it, when it comes around? As I say, there's a lot of games between now and then. It's how you arrive into it, which I'm more interested in. We need to make sure that we arrive there in a good place. As I say, we've got a big league game this weekend. A home game's Dundee United before the game away to Celtic, and they're all important. They have been since I've come back in. Our form's been fantastic in the league, certainly our away form. So let's hope we can keep that going against Motherwell, which is the main focus right now, and we'll deal with those games when they come around.
You've won every game away from home so far in the league. What's been the key, do you think, away from home that's allowed your team to perhaps play with a bit more style and attack?
Well, a lot of clean sheets away from home. There's been a mixed bag in terms of a little bit of everything. There's been some free-flowing football at times. There's been some really good defensive performances as well, where we've used the counter-attack really effectively. So we've managed to find a solution to the problems that we're facing. We go away to Motherwell this weekend. They're in good form, similarly to when we went away to Hearts and Hibs in the last couple of big away games. So I think Stuart's done really well since he's gone in there. They've had an up-pick. He was manager of the month. They didn't play last week, so they've had our eyes on us for a little while now, and we look forward to the game.
The intensity that you played with at Hibs and Hearts, how do you replicate that at home? Is that a summer of pre-season of really work, and how to break down the low blocks? Does it just take time?
Yeah, listen, if we weren't creating chances, I'd be more worried, but it was a completely different game that Rafe gave us in terms of problems to solve, and even after we scored the first goal, it didn't change their resolve, if you like. They sort of did stay there. You know, we had 24 shots in the game, 18 corners, so what you could say is, can we be a bit more ruthless in the boxes? But certainly it wasn't a lack of getting into the right areas. In our last away game at Hibs, I think we had 31 shots, so we're certainly not struggling in terms of our output in the final third. Then it's just a matter of our quality, which is something that we're working on for sure.
Michael, have you had a chance to speak with Ofoborh Rangers since the reports came out about him having signed that free contract?
Yeah, we spoke obviously after the game on, when was it, Sunday, and there's no truth in that, so I was pretty cool about it beforehand anyway, because we have such a strong relationship, and we're both committed to each other until the end of the season, and we'll sit down and have a chat then. And if Alfredo's here and offered a new contract, great. If he moves on and he's our record goal scorer in Europe, we've had a lot of big days together, and he'll get a hug and on he goes. But at this moment in time, we're just focused on the games ahead. There's no truth in the situation with Seville.
Can I just ask you a follow-up to that? Just looking at some of the comments you've made recently in terms of out-of-contract players. Ryan Jack, he said, is a player you'd like to work with moving forward. Speaking about Ryan Kent, he said, he spoke a lot about your relationship with him. He said, well, if he's here, it's because he desperately wants to be here. If he's not here, it's because he doesn't want to be here. Suggests, in both these cases, we'd want both these players to stay. Mm-hmm. Can you say the same about Ofoborh Rangers?
Yeah, I can. I think the big thing is that where do we see the club going moving forward, and who do we want to build around for the next 3 or 4 years? So I need to think when I'm handing these or making these offers, do I feel that I want to build with someone for the next 3 or 4 years? It's a moment where there's a lot of players out of contract, and therefore there's a lot of salaries coming back in if we wasn't to renew with some of them players, which gives the club a lot of options this summer. I've identified a few players to the club that we're away working on now, and and doing our scouting. There's almost two jobs going on. There's the team now and trying to improve that and continue with the good form and improve the style and identity of every game and every training session. And then behind the scenes, there's working towards what Rangers is going to look like for the 1st of July next year when we return for pre-season. And so those things, they're big decisions to make. You know, Alfredo's had a huge part of this football club the last few years. Contributed really well on the pitch. As I say, as a record goal scorer in Europe, there's certainly only nice things for me to say about him and our relationship. But at the end of the season, there'll be a chance for us to have a conversation whether we continue or not, and that's very open at this moment in time.
Just one more quickly on that, if I can. You've spoken recently about his goals, his assists. What do the figures say in terms of his fitness? What do you see on the training ground?
Listen, it's not so much, there's no real difference in physical output to him and Tony. Obviously, he's a little bit more high speed in terms of what fashion gives us. When you play against, at home at Ibrox against some teams, it's more short, sharp movements. In terms of his work ethic's fine. He's got his own programme, he goes off and works in the gym as well. I've got to be honest, since I've come back in, Alfredo's been fantastic in all aspects. There's not been any issues whatsoever. I think sometimes people try to force and find one. I think I said last week he scored 7 goals and 5 assists in the time I've been here, and he hasn't played every game. For example, he didn't play the 3 last week, and there was a couple of other games he hasn't played in. So if you look at his goal contribution per game, I think he's probably 1-to-1. So there's nothing in that. I've just got a decision in terms of where I want to take the team in the future, and Alfredo's got a decision on where he sees his long-term future as well. So it's going to be a summer where he's not the only one we're discussing that with, and there's other players in contract that I've had conversations with as well.
You said you spoke to Alfredo, but did he say to you that he wants to stay?
No, we said we're going to concentrate on the rest of the season, stay committed to each other and talk in the summer, and that's fine. I'm happy with that. He reiterated that there's no truth in the Seville situation whatsoever.
Do you still think you get plenty out of Alfredo, regardless of where his future lies beyond this summer?
Listen, I think that with Alfredo, there's a bit like the team. The team was on a rise for 2 or 3 years and has had a difficult 6 months, and in that everybody's open for criticism. No one's speaking about the goalkeeper situation when 3 or 4 weeks ago it was the only thing we spoke about, and about injuries, and they're sort of clearing up. Now we're on to Alfredo, so it's never a dull day being the manager of the football club. What I can say is that there's a lot of misconceptions about Alfredo. Every day he comes in, he works hard, he's a good teammate, he's supporting the team, and he reiterated to me that's how he wants it to stay between now and the end of the season. And I assured him that there's nothing that can happen between now and our last game which would change my energy towards him either.
Malik Tillman, will he be back?
Malik Tillman trained today, yeah, so I'm delighted that he's back within the group. So yeah, he trained well this morning, so he's available for selection, yeah.
What's Lorna's situation?
Borna's wife's obviously due to give birth, his first child, so she's running a couple of days late, but obviously then he goes away on international duty, so we're running tight on that one. But Ridvan's fit and available to go, young Adam Devine, and you may see a change of formation where we play with somebody else out there as well.
Michael, sorry, I was going to ask on Nnamdi Ofoborh. You had some comments on Sunday evening. Obviously, it's a really difficult situation. The fans haven't really known what's going on. He said he's had 2 operations and that mismanagement would become clear.
Yeah.
The support, that's obviously raised a lot of questions amongst the fan base. Can you maybe clarify what's going on there?
Yeah, listen, it's a really personal matter, that one. Obviously, Nnamdi's a boy that we signed originally from Bournemouth, and I was here in and around the scouting of signing Nnamdi. He was a player that we was quite excited about. He then went to Wickham and had the problem after doing the medical with Rangers. The problem appeared after that. And then since he's come to Rangers, it's been difficult. He's never been able to train with a group. He's never been able to play with a group. He's been away and seen the best cardiologists we could find. He's seen 2 different. We're now supporting him to see a 3rd opinion as well. It's fair to say that those opinions have not always been perfect. So he's managed to get back into light training, but our advice as a club from the specialist is just light training at this moment in time that me, you, anybody could do. nothing more than that. So that's where we're at. Nnamdi's a boy that I'm close to, and I really feel for his situation. He's a young man that's had his whole life turned upside down in the last 2 years, and he's finding it really difficult, obviously, with the sort of the feedback that he's been getting. But he's away to see a third specialist now, and the club's supporting him on that. The club's been fantastic in their support for him the whole way through the 2 years. It's just a really difficult situation, and I'm certainly not an expert on it. I'm just trying to support the young boy through what you can imagine is a really, really difficult period for him.
Appreciate that. So just to clarify, his comments were against the club?
I haven't spoke to him about that since the weekend. So when Nnamdi's here and he's able to work, he's here and working. There's periods when he's away from here doing his gym program as well. You can imagine that moving up from the south to Glasgow and then not having a daily program playing football, he's not been able to breathe as a football player. So we don't ask him to come in here every single day if he's not working. He's away now seeing a specialist. He's been away and seen the best people possible. He's been away and seen the specialists that dealt with Daley Brind and Christian Eriksen as well. So there's everything I feel we could have done as a football club we've done. It's just really frustrating for Nnamdi that he can't do as much as he would like, but that's us acting on the advice that we're given, and sometimes that's difficult.
So as you said, all the misstatements of the last 2 years will come out. Are you confident he's not referring to the club there and it's medical advice?
I don't see how he can be commenting on the club.
Can I just ask, just quickly, there was a report this morning that the club have signed off on a new contract for Scott Arfield and you have spoken to the board about that. I need to ask you, sorry, is there any truth in that?
Listen, there's no truth in any player being offered or signed off on any new contract. We haven't moved anywhere on Sunday. Scott Arfield's a player that I've got a lot of time for, a man that I've got a hell of a lot of time for. He gives a lot round here, but that's not true.
Can I get your take on potentially there's going to be a new fifth tier going to be introduced? We'll have 4 Premiership clubs that will have B teams in it, along with 3 from the lower league, 3 from the high league. What's your take on that?
Listen, there's a huge opinion on this, for and against, and I get that in football. My own personal opinion, without being the manager of Rangers, is my personal opinion. It happens in Portugal, it happens in Holland, it happens in Germany. I think Italy now with Juventus have got it as well, and I think it would be good for the development of young Scottish players. That's my personal opinion. It will divide opinion, of course, but most countries outside England have it, and there's a reason why they have it. So I think we need to start looking at some models that in other countries that we feel can help and help our young players. I think the Rangers, if I speak now about our club, as the manager of our club, do I think our young players have benefited from a stronger or a bigger games programme? Yes. Do I think the level is helping them play for Rangers? Possibly not. Other than playing against men and for 3 points and having a regular games programme, it hasn't always helped. And in having players coming back from injury but not being able to play them in those games, i.e. Ridvan, John Souttar, Yanis Hadji, that's not always helped either. So it's a mixed bag. It's not ideal both ways. Certainly before, the old reserve league that these boys were playing in wasn't fit for purpose, in my opinion. So we have to, in this country, find a way that we think helps our young players develop. It could be that you'd say to me, well, Rangers can send players out on loan to different teams in the league, but it's whether them teams are playing in the style and that's developing the players to play for Rangers. There's an argument for, an argument against, but I think we need to look at some of the other countries that are doing that and ask the questions why. And there's enough countries doing it. And it being successful, whether that's Germany, Portugal, Holland, as I say, Italy now with Juventus B team are also in the pyramid as well.
And just go back to Nnamdi, is it something you're going to speak to him about to see clarity what he meant by his comments?
Yeah, listen, we're speaking every day, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it's important that it's a private matter. So now all of a sudden the questions go out, and I have to be, I have to be very careful in terms of our answering, because obviously it's Nnamdi's future that's at stake, and I don't want to answer in a positive or negative. All I can say is that he's getting the best help possible, and the club's helped him, enabled him to do that. The clubs continue to support Nnamdi and and he's been out for 2 years. So it's difficult for the young man, and I try to give him the support like I did when I sat in front of him when we was about to sign him and he was coming into Rangers to play. You know, this wasn't the story that any of us wanted. This is not the reality any of us wanted. But at this moment in time, the less said about his personal and his medical situation, I think the better for Nnamdi.
You also just get a response to Mark Hitton's comments that the pressure is really going to increase on you if Celtic get a win in the next league game.
Yeah, listen, the pressure on me is to win every single game. That's what I signed up for as well. So, you know, when you're having the rough days, you remember you knew all about this when you signed up for it. It's a game we're looking forward to because we underperformed in the last one. We should have probably won the one before that. The games have not been, there's not been a big gap in terms of quality or the scoreline, which there probably was earlier in the season. So we've shown that we can now consistently win against most of the teams in the league and go on a strong run. It's important with 3 games coming up in a big derby out of the last 11-12 games of the season that we try to win more than we lose, and we're all focused on that. But before that, there's a lot of football to be played, and you know, I haven't got a magic ball now that tells me who's going to be fit and available, so I'll deal with that game when it comes around. And but I agree with Mark, it's fine, it's par for the course, it's what you guys would say as well, so it's probably what I would say, so there's no issue.
Great, thanks guys.
Thank you.